Hello and welcome, everyone, to Good Old Rocky Talk, a Vol Society podcast. I'm your host, Brad, here with my partners, the Davids. We're glad you're listening wherever you are. This is Good Old Rocky Talk. Welcome back to another episode of Good Old Rocky Talk. What a weekend it was for our football team as we obliterated the LSU Tigers in Death Valley Saturday 40-13. Hello, everyone. This is your host and founder of Vol Society, Brad Frank, and as always, here with my partners, David Dees and David Morrison. How you doing, guys?
What's up, Brad? We're doing good. How are you?
Good evening, Brad. And it's good to be here once again and looking forward to tonight's show.
How am I? God, what a question. Man, I am just on cloud 9, boys. Cloud 9. I mean, just can you believe it? 5-0. Crazy. Here we are, Bama week. The Vols are undefeated at 5-0, ranked the number 6 team in the country. Gameday is back in Knoxville this Saturday as we host the number 3 Crimson Tide in Neyland. And on our show today, we are honored and welcome a true VFL. Now, we told you last week on the podcast that we might have a surprise guest coming on. And to our listening fans, this guy certainly needs no introduction. But if I may, real quickly, during his 4 years at Tennessee, this person completed 733 of 1,210 passes for 8,700 yards, 72 touchdowns. His 7 touchdown passes against Kentucky in 2007 remains an SEC single game record. His 325 completions in 2007 remains a school single season record, and his total career yardage is the 3rd most in school history. And finally, a guy who knows this 3rd Saturday in October very, very well. He actually beat Alabama twice as Tennessee's QB. Today, he is the host of the Erik Ainge Show that airs 9 a.m. daily on 99.1 FM, The Sports Animal in Knoxville. With that said, it is my privilege to welcome VFL Erik Ainge to Good Old Rocky Talk. Erik, how you doing, buddy?
I'm great. Privilege. I'm glad you guys had me come on to join you.
We really appreciate you doing this for us, buddy. Well, listen, Erik, let's jump right into it, all right? Okay, so I got to say, it's Bama week. Erik, as a former player at UT, what does this week mean to you?
Well, coming from Oregon, I kind of learned on the fly what all this is and what it's all about and who we hate and who we don't hate. And I learned after my first year in college that there's 2 teams that we hate, and it's Florida and Alabama.
Hey, man.
We strongly dislike Georgia. I mean, there's a lot of other teams that we don't have a lot of love for, but the Florida game is like pure hatred. Like, we don't like them, they don't like us. There's not a lot of respect. We It's just a different kind of hate. The Bama game is a respectful hate, and I think it's because of the tradition and the history and all the great coaches and players that have come before it. You still hate them, but you pick them up after you knock them on the ground and let them know you're going to do it again. As opposed to the Florida game, you let them try to pick themselves up off the ground themselves. This game is huge. It means a lot to a lot of us.
Hey, man. I couldn't agree more. God, I love how you said that because that's exactly how I feel about it. You know, Florida, I hate Florida. I don't like anything about the Gators, but with Bama, like, yeah, it's it's like a love hate, and it's like a respectable game. There's a lot of history there, so I really like how you said that. Let me ask you this, Erik. With this team right now, are you surprised of where this program is in year 2 under Josh Heupel? And what do you think the biggest reasons are that we are in the position that we're in so soon?
Well, I mean, I think a lot of course, I'm surprised. I mean, I know David and David are as well. Like, there's no way any of us thought that we'd be the sixth ranked team in the country, undefeated, hosting game day for the second time in one season against Alabama as a touchdown underdog. And a lot of us feel really good about the football game. I mean, there's no way I would have believed that. Um, I think a lot of it comes because you hired a head coach that's great at something. Instead of getting a CEO type, you get a guy who rolls his sleeves up and has an offense and he knows what he's doing, and the guys buy in. They buy into something like that even faster. And I think that the reason they're so good this year is because they were good last year. I mean, you guys, this team was some fourth quarter plays away from being 10-3. I mean, Pitt, Ole Miss, Purdue, you're talking about a 10-3 football team in year one. That's how good they were. Now it didn't work that way, but they fixed that stuff, and now they're winning these tight ball games. And um, I think a lot of it, you got Josh Heupel. I know he gets a lot of credit, but he deserves it. He's one of those coaches that deserves all the praise and all the future money he's going to get.
That's awesome. Totally agree. Morrison.
Yeah, Eric, pleasure to talk to you. Thank you for being on here. So a couple questions here. First question I've got. So if Tennessee is to pull off this win this week, what do they need to do well to get the victory?
Um, Well, I mean, I was more nervous about this Alabama game before the LSU game, simply because we were 4-0, but we hadn't played a good three-phase football game yet. We hadn't played a full 60-minute game yet. We're having bad day on defense, great day on offense, bad day on special teams. We hadn't played 60 minutes of three-phase football yet, and we went and did that against LSU and beat their ass. That game wasn't close. And
Absolutely.
they have shown us all now that they're capable of doing that. So if you tell me right now that we play a good three-phase football game, we're going to be in the game. Can you make a couple plays in
Mm-hmm.
the fourth quarter? I don't. We're not going to rout Alabama. I mean, come on. I'm 36, and I'm still the last quarterback to beat them, for crying out loud. Like, if we
Wow.
beat them, it will be a close football game. But I believe if you play, to your question, if you play a good three-phase game, you don't have to be world beaters. We don't have to have the best game we've ever played to beat them. They're a touchdown favorite. I mean, that's a close football game. That's a one-score game, which is what everybody thinks it's going to be. And if that's the case, you're a couple plays in the fourth quarter away from stealing a win.
Absolutely. And Eric, I know this is obviously it's a big game for you personally and a lot of your VFLs, and I'm sure you still keep up with some of your former teammates from time to time. Can you speak to the level of excitement of this year's Tennessee Alabama game? Just kind of your overall thoughts, and maybe have you talked to, like I said, talk to any of your former teammates about this week or even this season in general?
Well, I'm going to give our fans a lot of credit because over the years that we've been bad, they show up no matter what. Maybe they show up unhappy, but damn it, they're still there. Like there's just
Yep.
everyone's been through a lot rooting for this team. And I know I have too, and I don't talk trash unless I feel good about the game. And I have been silent for 16 years watching Tennessee Alabama football, and I'm obnoxious on Twitter. I tweeted during the LSU game, "We want Bama," because I'm sitting there watching us play. Like, you guys, we can win this football game. We're
Yeah.
Right.
not
We
need to
saw
be
it.
afraid
Yeah.
anymore. The big bad wolves coming to Neyland Stadium are going to try to huff and puff and blow our house down. I don't see it happening that way. I'm confident about our football team. I think our fans are. The national media is even
Yeah.
starting to come around. It always seems to take them a little while, but even they're starting to come around. Game day's coming twice. I mean, there's no more like big underdog story here. I don't want to say we're on par with Alabama, but in this particular football game, we are. So I'm just confident that we can
Yep.
execute and go out there and steal a win. I'm still going to call it stealing a win. They're the number 3 team in the country, and we haven't beat them since Nom. So it's going to take a while, but I'm good with it.
Yep. Eric, let me ask you, can you think of a time game day has been back in the same season to the same school
I know it.
in the
I'm
same year?
pretty sure I saw somewhere that it has happened, but Brad, I'm with you. I don't remember.
Okay.
It's so
It's
uncommon.
rare.
It's very rare.
Yeah. Safe to say
And
it's
there's a
rare.
lot of
Yep.
other games they could have picked. A lot of them. There's like
No
6
question.
ranked games going on this weekend, and how about them Vols?
It says something, doesn't it? God, I can't wait. Dees?
Yeah, Eric, thanks for being with us. So I watch LSU and I watch Florida games for Tennessee, and those are big games, right? And I just saw the players seem confident, they seem loose, very different from what it's looked like in years past. And I want to know what you would attribute that confidence to, and how much does Josh Heupel, being like a former player who played at the highest level, who played in big games, who played in the Red River Shootout, like how much does that go into him being able to calm his kids down and let them play loose and let them play with some
No, I
confidence?
think David. I think that's a huge part of it. They always look to leadership. The first part of your question. How do they look confident? How do they look confident? I remember when David Cutcliffe came back and he was my coach for 2 years. One of the things that he taught me, that he taught Peyton, that he taught Eli, that he's taught everybody is, and it's I'll butcher the quote, but it's confidence comes with preparation. If you're prepared, then you're confident. That's true for anything: speech, a test, work, job interview. If you're prepared, then you should be confident in what you're about to go do. And I feel like Josh Heupel
Mm.
and the staff do such a good job of getting these players prepared that they don't have any other option than to think they're going to go win. And the other part of that too is a lot of the guys in this team, even transfers coming in, they've been a part of losing football teams. And last year they got a taste of winning and they saw what that was like and realized they still, hadn't even scratched the surface. And so they had a whole offseason of knowing how good winning feels and what it takes to win. And I think you see a lot of that with their preparation. And we don't have a lot of guys make mistakes. A lot of the guys that are, so we have some young corners that drop into zone coverage against Florida and they've got the deep third. So they just turn and start sprinting. They don't understand that like it's matchup zone. Like you drop deeper than the deepest, but your eyes are still reading route concepts and you can still close in and play tight coverage even in zone. They're learning lessons like that. And then they go out in the LSU game and they're playing zone coverage and they're draping all over guys. Daniels just made a lot of really good throws, but we had guys in position. That kind of stuff shows me growth. Just 1 week, well, I guess two technically, but in one game to the next, we were able to solve problems and clean up messes, and that's what it takes to go on a winning streak.
Mm.
That's great. You mentioned the staff in your last comment. As I'm watching this team, and of course, everybody talks about Josh Heupel and his system, his offense. He's got the wide splits. He's going fast, going tempo. He's got Hendon Hooker, a smart quarterback. But what stood out to me in that LSU game was just how well the defensive line played, how well the offensive line played down. Mincy at left tackle. They're having to plug in Dane Davis and Jeremiah Crawford. Could you speak a little bit about this staff and how they just seem to these? You look at these position groups and how much better and how much more improvement we're seeing from week to week from those guys.
No, they're all getting better, and that's what you want. You want even our older players are getting better. You mentioned Hendon Hooker, and I'm sure we'll continue to talk about him at some point. But Hendon Hooker's not just a smart quarterback. I mean, listen, he's one of the best quarterbacks in the country. He doesn't have the best arm. He's not the fastest. He's really good at everything, but he is, and I would put him up against anybody, the best decision maker in college football on
Yep.
RPOs, when to hand it off, when to throw it, when to move in the pocket, when to tuck it and run, reading coverage. He doesn't throw picks. He hardly even puts the ball in jeopardy ever. It's not like guys are
Yep.
dropping picks. He's just not even giving them a chance to catch the football. It's incredible. I mean, it's
Mm-hmm.
insane. I've never seen anybody play football like that here, play quarterback like that here. It's incredible. And a lot of that comes from coaching. I think the one guy on our staff that doesn't get any credit and needs to is our quarterback coach, Joey Halsey. We'll hear his name. He won't be coaching here for long. He'll be an offensive coordinator
Nope.
somewhere killing it. And we'll all remember
Mm-hmm.
him as the Tennessee quarterback coach. But I mean, from him all the way up, they're all on the same page. Heupel doesn't care if Joey Halsey's talking to him on the sideline or upstairs or at practice. They all trust each other to give the same information, and it seems to be working.
That's great, man. Hey, you bring up Hendon Hooker and kind of where he stands as a former quarterback here who had many successes. As you look at this guy, where do you rank him as a former quarterback? Like, where is he in that mix? I know you always think of Peyton Manning, you always think of T. Martin, you always think of Heath Schuler, Erik Ainge. Where is he on that list in your mind?
Well, I mean, he still has some football to play. He's only played a year and a half. So if he keeps playing like this, he'll be up in that conversation for one of the better quarterbacks we've ever had here. I mean, statistically, I devalue it a little bit playing in this offense. I think we'll see this as Heupel's here. whoever the quarterback is going to put up big numbers. I'm sure Joe Milton next year will throw for 300 yards a game and a bunch of touchdowns and a high completion percentage. And Nico will come in here, and when he gets his chance to start playing, I'm sure he'll do the same thing. So it's not as much about the numbers, but he's thrown what, like 40 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. I mean, like at some point, you can't deny numbers, especially stuff like that. It's incredible. And if the kid keeps winning, because numbers are one thing, no one really cares about stats, right? Like Tyler Bray put up a bunch of good stats, and we all love him now, but no one is ever going to put Tyler Bray up in the is he one of the better ones we've had here? His team's won 6 games a year. Hendon Hooker has a chance, especially after this drought of winning. If he keeps winning, I mean, he'll be loved. Look at Josh Dobbs. Josh Dobbs, the best he ever was 8-4, but he had some big moments and big wins and great stats, and we all love him and we'll love him forever. Hendon Hooker has a chance to surpass that for sure.
No question. Yeah, the guy's smart. It's unbelievable what he's able to see on the field, and what an athlete. Let's have a little fun here, Eric.
Come on.
All right. I know you like to have some fun. Let's have a little fun here. So, it was reported not too long ago that Hendon Hooker likes to listen, I believe, to gospel music, if I'm not mistaken, during his pregame warmups. So here's what we're going to do. Let's take it back a little bit. All right. And Eric, just between us here, just so you know, I actually went to UTK the same year as you did. 2004 was my freshman year. So I was there when you were there. We should have been best friends. I don't know why we weren't.
Did we ever drink a beer? We never drank a beer together? Come on.
Blows my mind. I think about it every day, but I guess we still have time to make up on that. But listen, man, so I'm just curious. Let's take it back. Let's say the 2006 season. It's Alabama week, so let's say versus Alabama at home. What is Erik Ainge listening to on his playlist in that locker room during pregame, warm-ups? What's on that playlist,
So
man?
I'm, being a Northwest guy growing up in the 90s, I'm a grunge rock baby. So I'm listening to Nirvana, Stone Temple Pilots, Alice in Chains, a lot of more of the calm, subdued stuff, not banging your head against the wall. Like
Wow.
Nirvana in Bloom was one of my favorites that I would listen to all the time.
Love it.
Yeah, just a lot of stuff like that. Got Me Wrong by Alice in Chains, that's another one.
Mm-hmm. Was there any other thing? Because you hear about athletes, some of the things they do just to kind of get in the zone, get warmed up before they get out there, run through the tee with 100,000+ fans. So obviously you listen to some music. Is there anything else that just kind of got you where you need to be before you started playing?
So I was one of those guys that was so ready to play by the time Saturday came. I'd already done all that.
Wow.
I did it all during the week in the hotel. By the time the game came around, I was raised in that preparation. Confidence comes with preparation. I'd already done it all, and I felt like I was prepared and ready to play. So I was always super calm. I had
Yep.
one game in my career where I was super hyper, and knowing what I know about myself now, that like it makes sense that I get a little out of control every once in a while. But it was the Florida game in 2006, and I was in the middle of the huddle, screaming, cussing like a dog, telling everybody
Yeah.
what's about to happen, just going nuts, like I was a linebacker or something. But I was a skinny, slow quarterback. But I wasn't acting like it. And on the first play of the game, I threw an interception, and Robert Meacham came over and he goes, "Will you calm the hell down?" And I was like, "Yeah, sorry, my bad, man." So I was always calm though. I was, and that's kind of, being the quarterback. Everyone else is super hyper. It's nice to be able to look to a guy and, learning more about Peyton and kind of, trying to mimic a lot of the stuff that he did. That was one of the things he did. He was prepared, he was calm, he was still super intense, but not jumping around, hooting and hollering or anything like that. Just calm and ready to go kick some ass.
Love it. Let me ask you this, since we're talking on this subject here. Is there one guy on the team that just went nuts? There's usually that one guy who's like either having someone slap him in the face 100 times before the game or hitting their head against the wall. Was there that one guy that you could think of that was just like This dude is wild.
Yeah, so it was my roommate. He came in with me. He came in as a defensive back. He was a corner and a safety, and I think he was Mr. Football even. His name was Ryan Carl, and
Okay.
nickname was the Firecracker. Um,
Yep.
he got that nickname because guys watched him run around and said that cracker is fire. So he became the Firecracker, and
Yes.
he was, man, he was lit all the time. I mean, undersized linebacker, just like you would think, right? I mean, but
Yeah.
he was that guy. And then believe it or not, one of our coaches was the hype guy, Kurt Roper. Remember Kurt Roper?
Yeah.
He looks like
Yeah.
he's selling books at
Yeah.
Books a Million. I mean, total
McKay's
nerd.
bookstore.
Yeah, he's at McKay's and he knows where every used book is in the entire building.
No kidding.
But he was, I mean, next level. Always slapping his watch on it's time to punch the clock. I mean, fans would have loved it if you could have got a peek on Kurt Roper in the locker room before the game, before the Maxims, just going nuts in the corner like a total crazy person. But you know what? It worked. You don't need in a football locker room. If you have 10 guys doing that, it's distracting and it doesn't work. If you have one or two going ham, it can be that little extra hype, that you need, especially when you have a coach that's rather calm. Coach Fulmer wasn't the guy breaking clipboards and stuff like that. He was, articulating how we were going to go win the football game. And we all loved that and appreciated that about him. But it's nice to have a couple crazy guys in the locker room.
Yeah.
Was Roper a running backs coach?
At the time, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Where's he at now? Is he still coaching?
McKay's bookstore.
Yeah, McKay's bookstore. He followed Cut to Duke and then Cut passed the reins. He became the offensive coordinator there. He bounced around a few places. I'm not sure what he's doing now. Real smart guy, good football coach. Crazy.
When you were at UT, NCAA football was very popular at the time on PlayStation 2 and Xbox. Did you guys play a lot of NCAA football back in the day, kind of around that time in the locker room or maybe in the dorm room? And how does it feel to be in the game, even though you didn't get the NIL deal
Well,
back 15 years ago?
yeah, but you know what? Back then, we didn't need a piece of the pie. We didn't feel like it was just cool to see people wearing that number 10 Adidas jersey you have on. I remember I still
Yeah.
see them on TV all the time and at the stadium. Everyone probably got them at, Goodwill or the back closet at McKay's bookstore.
Stop.
But I just remember thinking it was cool, and I always felt bad because the statute of limitations is out. But I wanted for nothing when I was the starting quarterback at the University of Tennessee. I was always very well taken care of, and I used to feel bad taking everybody's money playing NCAA. I would run
That's awesome.
two plays. It was a play we ran. It was called Y Takeover and X Takeoff, or two plays that we had that I've just found on the game, and I was like, oh, it's over here. No matter what they did, I took their lunch and their money every single time.
Heck yeah.
Fantastic.
That's awesome.
Who was your team on there, Eric?
I played with myself. Are you kidding me?
Heck
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I couldn't get away. Used to get mad that my speed was so low. I'd be like, I am faster than this. I'm not juking anybody, but I'm not this damn slow. I just,
Hey, be honest, man. You subbed in for Schaefer at some point, didn't you?
he was easier to play with.
Eric, so listen, man, I assume you're going to be at the game Saturday. Yes or no?
I'll be there. I'm actually going in. I don't like going to the games because I like analyzing the game so much that when you're there, as amazing as it is, it's hard to see the game the way I want to see the game. I know a lot of fans deal with that too, but I can't miss this. Our first good chance to beat them. I'll be there.
So here's my question. You're going to be there. If Tennessee beats Bama this week, are you personally storming the field?
Oh, hell no. I'm not catching an elbow from Will Anderson trying to get off the field, storming the field. There's no way that's happening. But I will say this, and I got a message from someone that works over at UT that was just kind of, being nice about not promoting it. And I kindly responded with, not only will I not stop promoting it, I'm going to go over the top promoting it, because if we beat them, every student and any fan that wants to go claw a piece of that grass up, I know we got a game the next week, they'll resod the damn thing. They got money. They'll figure it out. We need to storm that field and do whatever we want.
Let's go. And here's the thing, like, we've been talking to a lot of people, and some people are saying, if we beat them, no, we're not going to storm the field. Here's my prediction. We beat them. There is no doubt in my freaking mind we're storming that field.
We'll storm Cumberland. We'll storm campus.
It'll be a disaster.
It'll be like a zombie apocalypse. There'll just be nowhere to hide.
There's no question. That's fantastic. All right, Erik. Hey, man, I've got, unless the Dees, David Morrison has anything else, I've got one final question for you, man. You've been an awesome guest, and I appreciate you doing this. This has been a lot of fun. But I like to do this when I talk to people, athletes. I think the fans would like to know this. So, Erik, your most memorable game as a player at Tennessee?
Oh man. Um
Put you on the spot here.
well, you got to take first game off the table because the first time you run through the tee and your
Yeah.
shoulder pads are shaking because it's so loud. I remember Coach Fulmer said that he was going to let Brent start and then bring me off in the third series. And I said okay, why? And he said, well, I don't know how Brent will handle not being the guy to start. And I said, well, isn't that your answer then? If he's not mentally tough enough to handle coming off the bench, don't you already know who your quarterback is? I think he
Wow.
liked the confidence and that I had, but I was just being honest. And
Yep.
I remember running through the tee and getting on the sideline. I was like, thank God I don't have to go in there and play right now. I was so hyper. My heart was beating out of my chest. I was 18 years old. I didn't know anything about anything. And I was like, whew, I get to calm down. That's a good thing. But the most memorable game for me was probably Florida my freshman year, not only because we won, not just the way that we won, but some of the plays that I was able to make in that game were also some of the most memorable plays that I had in my career. Um, coming back, 2-minute drill, getting in field goal range, just a lot of execution things that are really hard for an 18-year-old to pull off. And I had a great football team and guys around me, but I think that looking back on my career was probably the most memorable one just because
Yeah.
you could play, some of those plays, you could do them, 100 times and 98 times it's an incompletion. And in that game, they were all touchdowns.
Erik, I got to tell you, man, we've talked about this on our podcast before, our most memorable games in Neyland and all that good stuff. Hearing you say that just gives me chills, man, because as I said earlier, we're the same age, man. And I was there that game. That was my first game as a freshman. I had tickets, actually went with my mother. I didn't sit in the student section, but she had some tickets. She scored. I think we were like on the 50-yard line, like 20 rows up. Dude, that game is by far the greatest game I have personally been to. And you went off, man. I remember it well. 16 to 24,
Yeah.
if I'm not mistaken. 192 yards, 3
3
touchdowns.
Yeah.
God, dude, you went off. I'll never forget it.
Let me give you another one. The last time we beat Alabama, 2006, I didn't play. I mean, I think I threw for like 300 yards, I think, but I threw 3 picks. I didn't play that good. And on one of them, I threw an interception. It was a hitch route, and I overthrew it, and the corner, Simeon Castile, caught the ball.
Yeah.
And we always used to joke about it since I wasn't fast. If you throw a pick to the sideline, you just turn and find the pylon and you start running because you're not going to catch anybody. So you just turn and start running. Throwing
Wow.
the pick, and I was like, oh no,
Yeah.
back pylon. And so I turned and I just sprinted as fast as I could, like I was getting chased by a grizzly bear. And I got him and dove and pushed him out of bounds. And then the defense held him on the 1 yard line, 1 or 2 yard line, and forced him to kick a field goal. It ended up being the difference in the football game. Had I
God.
known at the time that that was going to be the last time that we beat them, I would have celebrated a lot more than I did.
God.
Golly. Game saving tackle. Isn't that crazy to think that's the last time we beat them? You just stop and think about it. You're like, damn, how's that the last time we beat them?
Goosebumps, man. That is crazy.
I couldn't even drink a beer. I was 20 years old the last time we beat them. There was no iPhone,
God.
no Uber.
God. Yeah, I saw somebody today say this is the first game we'll be able to tweet about a Tennessee win over Alabama if we pull it off.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go.
Dude, that story was amazing. That was awesome. That's cool. That's how they teach you, huh? Just turn around and go for the
Well,
pylon.
that may not be how they teach the fast ones, but the slow ones,
Well,
you
that's how
turn
they
and
taught you.
find that damn pylon and you close your eyes and run.
God, that's awesome. And it worked.
It worked.
That's awesome. That is. Mm. Dees, Morrison, you got any questions? Any more questions for Mr. Erik Ainge?
No, it was just a privilege talking to you, and I'm going to be rocking the Goodwill Eric Ainge jersey from 2008.
There you go.
I guess I'll be the first president of the Eric Ainge fan club.
Man, we love Erik.
No, yeah.
Seriously though, Erik, it's been awesome having you on here. I guess I'll leave it with this. Do you have any final thoughts? Any words of wisdom on
Vols
your way
30,
out?
Vols 30, tied 27.
All right.
God, I love it. I wonder if we should just, since he just went out, Erik, we usually do this at the end of our podcast, but I love that you took initiative here, gave us your prediction. So you're saying 30 to 27, right?
That's what I think today. By the time game day comes around, I'll have us winning by more than that.
All
We'll be
right.
putting up 40 by the end of the week, won't we?
By the end of the oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I love it. Awesome. Well, Erik, thank you once again, man.
Yep.
We're a huge fan. I know it's you're a busy guy, and you doing this just means a lot to us. And hey, man, I hope you're willing. If you didn't have a terrible time tonight, hopefully you're willing to maybe join us again.
Yeah, whenever,
We'd love to keep having you on here occasionally.
just text me. Whatever.
You got it, brother.
You're the man. Thanks, Erik.
Thank you
Yep.
very much.
Erik, have a good night. Go Vols, and let's get this win, baby.
See you, boys.
All right, guys, let's move on to our next segment. Gosh, what an interview with Erik Ainge. I mean, was that not something? It's
He,
incredible.
he was a great guest, and once again, thanks for EA joining us on the show. And make sure you listen to his talk show every day on Sports Animal.
Yeah. What a guy, man. God, it was great. All right, guys, let's move on. Let's move on to our next segment here. Let's talk a little bit about that LSU game last week. As we all know, Tennessee beats LSU, destroys LSU, I should say, 40-13. Hey, I'll tell you right now, I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I was wrong. I think we all were. We all had predictions last week. They were very similar, somewhere around the 35, 34, 30, 31 game. So we had it kind of like a nail biter, somewhere in that range. And I got to tell you, we were all wrong.
How could you predict that opening kickoff, huh?
God, special teams.
Getting the ball down on the 25-yard line, being able to punch it in so quickly. You're basically starting out in the red zone. And against a good team like
Hey, and
Tennessee,
who recovered that fumble?
I'm not sure.
Okay, well, let me just say this. Whoever it was, I should know this. I should have looked it up, but that's all right. I'm going to tell you, do you know how much athleticism it takes to do what he did? When you're going full speed, literally the ball is right there bouncing, right flirting with the sideline. Think about it. Going full speed, he had to wrap that ball, have control, and have his feet in before he goes out of bounds. Dude, it happened within a split second. Incredible. Special teams, man, once again. So, anyways, my take on the LSU game, real quick, and then I want to get your guys' take as well. It's literally the best I've ever seen Tennessee play in all three phases of the game. Okay, complete control of the game. I was just elated the entire game. It was something that I've been waiting for. We've seen the guys progress each week and get a little better, but it seems to always be, we might do something well on offense, but then defense is doing really bad, right? But no, this game, I can't believe. I mean, the blood pressure was low. Well, I shouldn't say that. I was very hyped up, but it was high for a good reason. It wasn't high for a bad reason. Okay. We were in complete control of that game. It was the most incredible thing I've seen in years. again, Hendon Hooker, truly a special athlete. I think Heisman's all over this guy. He's got the potential to do it. Truly just a gifted person. And then defense. I just want to end real quick with defense. God, did they play lights out? Best I've ever seen. Complete dominance at the line, including, am I right on this? Wasn't it 4 or maybe 5 sacks in that game?
5 sacks, 2.5 for Byron Young.
And he won Defensive Player of the Week or Defensive Lineman of the Week.
Congrats, Byron. What a guy. We've
Fully
talked
deserved.
about his story. They actually mentioned it, I believe, a little bit during the game last week. Just kind of reiterated what we talked about already in the season. It's got a great story and a heck of a game from him. But, 5 sacks in that game. And you're right, Byron Young accounting for 2.5 of those. I mean, just solid, sound football. If you're not excited, you should be, Vol fans. David Dees, your thoughts on the game?
Yeah, I think you hit it. Just played really well in all 3 phases of the game. You saw D. Williams make his debut as a punt returner for Tennessee. I give a lot of credit to that staff for trusting him to go out there on the road and let him field a punt. And he takes it 58 yards, his opening punt return of the season. On our second possession, put us down there in the red zone again. So just such a hot start. And that's what you got to do when you go on the road with this kind of offense. If you can start off fast and get help from the special teams and from defense, you got the ability to blow teams out. Just because this number one offense in the country for a reason. And again, you mentioned the defense, Byron Young, the freshman Jonathan Josephs. Got a sack. Roman Harrison played probably his best game as a Vol. I was just so impressed with Roman Harrison. He was all over the place the other day.
Oh, yeah.
Aaron Beasley was all over the place. We had a big 4th down and 2 stop where he shot the A gap and got in there and tackled his man behind the line of scrimmage. And there's some things to still pick apart, right? The secondary needs to improve. We all know that. They've got to get better at tackling, especially with Alabama coming up and those big wide receivers that Alabama has and Jahmyr Gibbs at running back. Our secondary's got to be better at tackling. But, you still just saw consistent improvement. Our defensive line took away their run game. LSU was limited to, 40-something yards on the ground. Just completely shut it down. You lost Gerald Mincey before the game, starting left tackle, and you sub in Dane Davis and Jeremiah Crawford getting the majority of the snaps, and didn't miss a beat. They were going up against, these supposedly vaunted pass rushers from LSU, and they really held their own. I was so proud of those guys. Give a lot of credit to Glenn Ellerby, the offensive line coach, and Rodney Garner, the defensive line coach, because for me, that's where this game was won for Tennessee and where they were able to dominate is at the line of scrimmage.
Morrison, you want to add anything?
Yeah, just looking over the stats here. Shout out to the wide receivers. Like I said, we didn't have Cedric Tillman playing in this game. It looks like he's going to go this Saturday. He could have played in the LSU game, but I think they were waiting for him to play in a bigger game in Alabama. But Brew McCoy, looking at his numbers, 7 catches, 140 yards, averaged 20 yards a catch. Every time he caught the ball was at 20 yards. Shout out to him. Jalen Hyatt still continuing to prove week in and week out. 4 catches, 63 yards. Had a great touchdown thrown from Hendon Hooker for 45 yards out. Just continuing to see this wide receiver core produce, even with an all SEC wide receiver, Cedric Tillman, being out. Uh, uh, Jabari Small, 22 carries, 127 yards, 2 touchdowns. The running game looked really good. Dees talked about the offensive line and Glenn Ellerby really executing a great game plan, getting his guys ready to play. And even Jalen Wright did fairly well, 12 carries, 59 yards. And then, we've already mentioned Hendon Hooker and just the outstanding playmaker he's been. And, yeah, just a fantastic game. I thought Tennessee, you definitely tell they were very rested from that bye week. No intimidation factor, and yeah, we can talk about the time of the game, but I think LSU was probably prepared for it also, since they've known for almost 2 weeks and when this start time was. But coming off the emotional win with Florida, this year was great having that bye week there. You celebrate that Florida win, and then I think this coaching staff had this team ready to prepare. They seem, like I said, they seem relaxed. They seem into the game, not looking ahead to Alabama. They went in there, took care of business, and I want to give a shout out to our fans. I mean, the Tennessee Vol Nation showed up in Baton Rouge. We heard
Oh yeah.
there was a bunch of Tennessee fans on a flight to New Orleans, and as soon as the plane was landing, they were singing Rocky Top. So that's really cool. And then Austin Price had a great video of just the massive Tennessee fans, probably about 10,000 inside Tiger Stadium, singing Rocky Top at the end. I mean, it looked like a Neyland Stadium or like a big time bowl game. And just shout out to our fan base that showed up. I mean, we knew that they're going to show up eventually, but uh, it just how much Vol Nation has grown and just love this team. And 15 years of even our fan base still showing up, over 90,000 during the dark times, still supporting this team. But now it just seems like we finally have something to cheer for, and it's been a long time. And here
Yeah.
we are, undefeated.
Most definitely. And we say this all the time, but it's true. We have the best fans in the world. Um, hey, and speaking of that LSU game and our fans traveling, so I was listening to Tony Basilio's show today, and they were interviewing a few people who were actually at the game, and they said the same thing, Morrison, just how it was just the Vol fans just kind of took over that stadium, if you will.
Done the same thing at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, exactly. But the interesting thing is, and this is amazing if it's true. They estimated, from what I gathered on the show today, that there were possibly close to 30,000 Vol fans there. That's a lot of
Unreal.
fans, folks. All right, proves we have the best fans. Period. All right, guys, let's move on to our next segment. What did we learn this past week in college football? For me, I'm going to be short and sweet and let you guys take it over if you want to. But listen, the only thing I cared to learn about this past week was Alabama, because it's Alabama week. And what I know is this: they barely beat a mediocre at best Texas A&M team, 20-24. At Bama. This team can and will be beat this year. And I truly believe the Vols have what it takes to get the job done. Go ahead, guys.
Uh, that's a great, interesting take there, Brad. And when we get to the score predictions, I think we're probably in
Short and sweet,
unanimous
baby.
with you. Yeah, definitely.
It's
So,
Bama week, baby. That's all I care to know about this week.
yeah. Kind of just looking over throughout the whole weekend. I, as far as some of the teams go, Kansas took their first loss to TCU. So our game day was last week. So we'll see, can they continue that? Oklahoma, I mentioned last week, I think on the podcast about Brent Venables, as far as I think he's just a first year head coach. He'll learn from it. That Oklahoma team's got a lot more problems than I thought. So, and I don't think Brent Venables has gone after year one, but uh, they definitely have a long look in the mirror, especially getting absolutely dominated by Texas. And flipping on the other side of the coin here, Quinn Ewers is a special quarterback at Texas. I mean, it's such a shame what happened in that Texas game, went out early, but glad to see him back in the Red River Shootout. Uh, it just makes you kind of wonder, hindsight 2020, if he was there playing every game and putting up the type of numbers he has, he may be right there with Hendon Hooker in that Heisman Trophy race. But it is what it is. And I want to give a shout out. We talked about the Sun Belt Conference a few weeks ago. I want to give a shout out to James Madison University. James Madison University just joined the Sun Belt this year. The Sun Belt kind of did a major realignment, adding like Marshall and Southern Miss from Conference USA. Old Dominion's another one of those schools. But James Madison came up from FCS to FBS. So this, they've only played, I think, 5 games moving up to the FBS level. They are ranked in the AP Top 25 at number 25. They are undefeated, also in the same conference as Coastal Carolina. So give a shout out to James Madison. They defeated our Coach Lyle's team over the weekend. But give a shout out to the Dukes of James Madison, number 25 in the nation, and they've only played 1A football for 5 games. So that's
Crazy.
my thoughts.
Awesome. That is wild. David Dees.
Yeah, just I guess surprised to see Texas just manhandle Oklahoma that way, 49-0. You think about all those Tennessee players that transferred away from Tennessee to Oklahoma. You're talking Eric Gray and Key
Yep.
Lawrence, and there might have been another one, but uh, anyway,
Wanya
they
Morris.
Wanye Morris, yeah. Uh, you if you told us 2 years ago that Oklahoma this week would be getting drubbed by Texas 49-0, and Tennessee would be 5-0, blowing out LSU on the road and getting ready to host Alabama for a top 10 undefeated matchup, I would have never believed you. So
No
funny
one
how
would.
college football works, huh?
That's why I love it. That's why everyone loves it so much.
Crazy
Anything can
stuff. And
happen. Yep.
I remember Oklahoma, plucking away a lot of Tennessee's players out of the portal when Jeremy Pruitt was fired. And you just look what they are now and where Tennessee is. And you think
Yeah.
about Josh Heupel, who was let go as offensive coordinator at Oklahoma and kind of banished away from there. And now here he is winning at Tennessee. And it's just really cool. And I'm so glad and thankful that Tennessee's in the spot that it's in right now. Just makes you really appreciative.
Yep. Let's go to our mailbag section real quick, guys. We have a couple of questions that I want to address from some of our fans who have written into us on our social media pages. So let's go ahead and knock that out real quick. So first we have Tony A. from Rockwood, Tennessee. Tony, thanks for joining us tonight. He asked on our Facebook page, what is the biggest thing Tennessee needs to improve on before Bama week? That's a good question. Who wants to take that first? Morrison, you want to take a quick stab at it?
The first thing that comes to mind is secondary play and tackling. Dees mentioned it a little bit earlier. Uh, you know, as far as what we kind of saw, and our defense played great against LSU, but like I said, we still gave up some explosive plays and some easy throws that Jaden Daniels did Saturday. Well, still need to improve in that. We expect to see Young to play possibly Saturday, so Heisman Trophy winner. And Alabama has playmakers year in and year out, so I want to see our secondary to improve there, and then tackling. And like I said, once again, we praise the defense, but there are some tackling issues that still need to be addressed. And we'll see. We'll see how it goes on Saturday. But yeah, we'll see what happens, and also just once again, turnovers. Like I said, I feel confident in Hendon Hooker, but as far as a possible bad snap from center, or we've seen it with some of our receivers or our tight ends, fumble on on side of the field or whatever. So we'll see how it goes. That's just kind of just the simple basic football needs.
Yep. How about you, David Dees?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the secondary, right? I would have said maybe a week ago the running game with our running backs in particular and our offensive line getting going. They did that against LSU. I'd like to see them follow that up with another good performance this week against Alabama, but going up against another tough defensive front. But really for Tennessee, it's the secondary, it's tackling in space, it's playing a little bit tighter in coverage and not allowing such soft coverage. But that's what they're doing this year. They're playing bend but don't break. They're going to make teams keep things in front of them and not going to get beat on big plays. At least that's what we've seen to this point. So, but secondary's got to improve.
Yeah, I mean, you guys nailed it. Yeah, although our defense showed up against LSU, and they did for the most part, I was very proud of them. But yeah, I still believe that there's always room for improvement, and there's certainly room to keep improving on our defense. Secondary stands out the most for me. So yeah, just keep working on what you're doing. You had a great game last week. You can't slow down. You got to keep on moving, improving every week, and we're going to have to keep building on that from last week if we're going to have a chance against Bama. Let's go to our next question. Danny B. Not sure where he's from. It just says Tennessee here. Well, we know he's in Tennessee. He asks on Facebook, other than Hendon Hooker, which Tennessee player is your midseason MVP for Tennessee? Awesome question. Let me start with this one. This might sound crazy, but I'm loving the improvement in the output from my man Brew McCoy. Okay. This kid continues to become a greater asset for us and a playmaker each game. Look at last week against LSU. I think Morrison said it. He had 7 catches, right, Morrison? 140 yards
Yep.
last week. Is
Average
that
20
right?
yards a catch.
20
Yep,
yards
that's
a
it.
catch average?
Yes.
And listen, he also led receiving team against Florida with 102 yards, if I'm not mistaken. I know it was over 100 yards. Okay? That's back-to-back games. He's just performed excellent. And get this, at a time when we needed him most, with Cedric Tillman being out. I mean, that's why this guy gets my midseason MVP. He's improved, in my opinion, drastically every game. And the guy's big and he's a playmaker. And honestly, he's a big reason why we're 5-0 right now. Some of those catches and plays that he's been involved with, it's because of him. That's my MVP. Midseason, besides Hooker. Hooker's the man. Let's be real. David Dees, who's your MVP?
Well, if I had to say one, I think a guy who's a little unheralded, not going to show up in the stat sheet as much, but I'm going to go Amari Thomas at defensive tackle. He has been so huge for
Love
Tennessee.
it.
There's been multiple games where he's played over 60 snaps. He is a warrior inside for Tennessee. He's a guy who is anchoring the defensive line right now, especially the interior of that line. And I just think if you pulled him away, like out of all of our position groups on the team and out of all the different roster spots, if you took him away from that defensive line, I think you would have seen a pretty big drop off. And so I'm really impressed with Rodney Garner and his whole defensive line. That's not to take anything away from the guys behind Amari Thomas because I think they're doing a great job. You see these guys coming on each week, your Tyree Wests and guys of that ilk that are playing well. But Amari Thomas for me has really been a stronghold for that defensive front for Tennessee. I texted you the other day, Brad. I noticed he hurt his shoulder on a play and he came out for a couple of series in the first half. And it really concerned me because I thought looking ahead to Alabama and you get into some of these bigger games, that's the one guy on defense that I just don't feel like we can afford to lose. So I would say Amari Thomas for me on that defensive line is my midseason MVP, a guy that's very valuable.
A really good one, David. David Morrison, who's yours?
Yeah, I'm going to kind of talk about somebody that doesn't get a lot of love, but Vol fans are very well known of him, and that's our place kicker, Chase McGrath. I'm going to go with him. He's
Mm.
28 for 28 on extra points this year. He's 8 for 10 on field goals, but the ones he's missed, he missed one in the 40 to 49 yard range, but he's 1 for 2 from 50 yards and out. His longest this year is a 51-yard field goal. He's already got 52 points. 7 for 7 on field goals from 30 to 39 yards out. Just kind of somebody that you don't think about kickers a whole lot, but they're important when it comes to critical situations. And like I said, it kept Tennessee scoring drives continue to grow week in and week out. And like I said, it's probably not a uber popular pick, but hey, he put a lot of points on the board, and like I said, a lot of wins came through Chase McGrath.
He's your SEC Special Teams Player of the Week this week from his
He
performance
is.
against LSU.
Yes.
And also shout out Byron Young, who is a defensive lineman of the week in the SEC after his
Yep.
2.5 sack performance against LSU.
Yep. And honestly, Morrison, the truth is, he's a great kicker.
Absolutely.
He's
I
not a
mean,
good kicker. He's a great kicker.
yeah. He's
And I do believe he could go to the NFL and play
I
and
do
be
too.
pretty successful. I really believe that.
I do too. He's one of these guys that I'm not like closing my eyes that he's gonna, miss a easy field goal.
Oh, I'm
I feel
confident.
very confident. Yes.
I really
Yeah.
am. Yeah. No question. Guys, what a show it's been. I mean, this has just been a great show. I want to go to our final segment here. Thoughts on the upcoming Bama game? Just real briefly here. I don't want to go too much into this. We've already gone over an hour, it looks like, on the show. But I do want to just real quickly, like a 1 to 2 sentences, thoughts on this Bama game. I'll start, and you guys can go after me. Take the Florida game atmosphere a few weeks back. And we were there. We were at the game. Take that atmosphere and environment, triple it this Saturday. Take that to the bank. This game is going to be possibly the greatest game that I can remember in many, many years. I mean, maybe, gosh, maybe even back in the 90s. That's how big this game is, guys. Okay? So I simply just want to leave it at that. My thought is, and we're going to give score predictions right after this, but I just want to remind you guys, if you're going to the game, if you thought Florida was something, and it was something, it was incredible. You haven't seen anything yet. Morrison?
Yeah, just my thoughts. It's just the history of the third Saturday in October. You know, I would say as far as who's our biggest rival goes, I think more of people our parents' age would say Alabama, and rightly so. I think kind of it's morphed into the Florida rivalry, kind of starting in the Gen X generation and morphing into our age. But I'm excited about just the anticipation of the third Saturday in October. We've heard about it, and this is the biggest game of the third Saturday in October between Tennessee and Alabama, maybe in the rivals' history. And I'm just so excited just thinking about all the generations that's going to be watching this game. And even fans younger than us, Tennessee fans, have never seen us beat Alabama. Here's a perfect opportunity to have it. And I'm getting like 2019 LSU Alabama vibes when Alabama went down to LSU and they had Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase and everybody on that team. I'm starting to kind of get that vibes too, and LSU came away with the win that day.
Yeah. Nice. David Dees?
Yeah, this is a big deal. It's the third Saturday in October, and it's the first time in a long time that we felt like we actually have a chance going in. I would say our football team is hot. They're playing loose. They're playing with confidence. And when I look over to the other side and I look at Alabama, I don't see the same thing. You may have better players. You may have more NFL players than Tennessee does. You may have Nick Saban. But we've got Josh Heupel, and we've got the number one offense in the country, and it's the number one offense in the country for a reason. And Alabama can't prepare in 1 week to play Tennessee. Last year, we hung with them to the fourth quarter with Hendon Hooker only, his second or third game as a starting quarterback. He's been in the offense a lot longer now. This tempo is working. This offense is working. This defense is improving. We get them at home. Now's the time, guys. We got to take advantage of this opportunity. Each week, it seems like the game gets bigger and bigger and the consequences get bigger and bigger. I think it's time to do it. I think it's time to knock these guys off. I don't think it's time to fear them. I don't think it's time to bow down to them. I think it's time to say we got the number one offense in the country. We got our true Heisman Trophy candidate as the quarterback in Hendon Hooker. Let's go. Let's lace them up and see what happens. So I'm fired up for this one, and I expect that 100,000, 102,000 people in Neyland Stadium are going to be fired up for it as well.
Can you feel the passion in the air right now, folks. Let's go. David Dees is fired up on that response. Woo! Score predictions. Let's go out with a bang, guys. Score predictions this Saturday. Who wants to go first? Look at this. No one wants to go first. Well, I'll tell you what.
Go, Brad.
How about your fearless host go first? I don't mind. I'm not scared.
I'm still trying to calm down from my monologue, Brad.
Brother, that was just, I can smell the passion through this speaker.
You got any of that blood pressure medication? I may need you to mail me some
I've got
overnight.
it sitting right here. I'm getting ready to pop a few right now because my blood pressure is going up as we speak. It's almost time, boys and girls. All right, here's my score prediction for Saturday. Tennessee 37. Alabama 35. You heard it here. That's Brad's prediction. All right, guys, who's next? It's going to be a close one. It's going to be a close one. That's what I'm thinking. 37-35. All eyes will be on that game Saturday. I promise you that, guys. All right, let's go with David Dees. Let's hear it, man.
It seems like every week we're hovering around this 35, 30-point range, 38. We're somewhere in that range each game, right? And as the defenses have gotten tougher, you know, it makes you kind of temper your expectations. I remember thinking last week, man, LSU's got this defense. I'm going to temper my expectation. I'm going to call for 34 points, you know, where maybe against Florida, I called for 41. And each week, as the competition gets stiffer and stiffer, I kind of want to temper my expectations. I'm not going to do that this week. I'm going to say that Tennessee comes out and plays well and executes on offense. And I'm going to say Tennessee goes out and takes care of business against Alabama, and they win at 41-38. They win by a field goal, but I do have them getting 41 points. And if Cedric Tillman's back in this offense, watch out. Because I don't know how you're supposed to guard Brew McCoy, Jalen Hyatt, Cedric Tillman, Ramel Keaton if they get him on the field, and you got to account for the running game and Hendon Hooker. I just think this tempo is going to screw Alabama up. I don't think they're going to be able to prepare for it in 1 week. This is something they're not used to seeing. Tennessee's going to go out and put up some points on Alabama on Saturday. We're going to have a good old-fashioned fun third Saturday in October. Go Vols, beat Bama.
God, can you feel the energy on good old Rocky Talk right now, folks? David Morrison. Keep that energy going. What do you got, buddy?
Yeah, like I said, this is the biggest third Saturday in October that's been in program history. You know, honestly, this morning I was preparing the show in my mind, I was going to go with an Alabama win, but I started really thinking about it. I'm getting, like I just mentioned, I'm getting that Alabama LSU 2019 vibes. When Alabama went down to Baton Rouge, and I mentioned Joe Milton and Jamar Chase and Ed Orgeron, and that offense was clicking at that time, and they just went out there and kind of punched them in the nose. I don't see us punching in the nose. It's going to be a 15-round heavyweight fight for the heavyweight championship of the world, or in this case, just a football game in third Saturday in October. But my final score is going to be Tennessee 31. No, I'm sorry. I lied. Tennessee 34, Alabama 30. And I'm not drinking the orange. I mean, I'm drinking orange Kool-Aid, but not trying to
What do you got in
be
that
just a fan
Kool-Aid
of.
there, Morrison?
Actually,
Just
this is a
kidding.
good old Tennessee tea right here. Good
Tennessee
old
tea.
Tennessee
That
straight.
one's brewed by Heupel and Hooker. The old Tennessee Kool-Aid was brewed by Hart and Hamilton and Jones and Dooley. We don't drink that stuff anymore. We threw that stuff out with the bathwater.
What about
Exactly.
Pruitt?
I
Pruitt didn't have a hand in that one, David Dees? He didn't?
He may have. I don't know.
He didn't want to move things forward.
He might be known to drink some big orange tea around the poker table. Who knows?
Well, I'm looking forward.
Yeah, 34-30. And by the way, like you heard Erik Ainge mention on the podcast, we're gonna storm Neyland. I mean, Knoxville is gonna be a scene Saturday night, and you know what? I'm okay paying that fine from the SEC.
Let me tell you right now, Danny White is okay.
Yeah,
paying that fine. He's not going to come out and say, "Hey guys, let's storm the field." He can't do that. But I'm going to tell you right now, guys, you got me fired up now. Here we are ending the show, and I'm ready. I'm ready to go to battle. You mark my word, buddy. If we win this game Saturday and we storm that field, which we will if we win, and we take those goalposts down and we destroy that field and we rip up the bushes, I'm going to tell you right now, Danny White will love every second of it.
There's not a sofa or a mattress that is safe in Knox County Saturday night about 7 o'clock.
Now, we've already done the game day picker thing once. Who's going to be your pick this time around?
Oh, man.
Honestly, I'm afraid to even say. I don't know. You know, we had all these suggestions last time, and it was not even close. We had no idea. You know, so I don't even know what to say, honestly. I mean, honestly, I don't know, guys. I don't even know where to start. I don't know. Do you guys have anyone in mind that you think might do it?
I saw some people throw out Condra Holloway as a possibility.
Okay.
Obviously, Peyton's name comes up each week. Honestly, at the end of the day, who cares, right?
It doesn't really matter.
It's kind of fun to think about, and I'm just happy they're coming back again. I think it helps our recruiting, and why wouldn't they come back? This is in the biggest slate of college football to this point in the season. This week is the biggest. This is the biggest game, and we're a part of it.
No question.
Feels good, doesn't it, guys?
Hey, let's start a petition right now. Who the guest picker is going to be? How about our buddy, good friend, Erik Ainge? Get him up there, folks.
Let's do it.
Love you, Erik.
SEC Nation's coming too. Do we need to have a guest picker for SEC Nation so they can get on there with Marty Two Straws and
there you go,
Ryan McGee, Paul Feinbaum?
Yeah.
There you go.
Shout out to Laura Rutledge. I like Laura.
There you go.
Even though she's a Florida grad.
I have a feeling the guest picker will be like a.
I'm thinking Vitello, since he was on there last time.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a former Tennessee football player. I don't know who, but
yeah, I don't know who's on the bye.
But again, I wouldn't mind seeing. I just don't know if he's a Tennessee fan. Remember, let's go back to the WWE days. Kane, the mayor of Knox.
Of course, he's a Tennessee fan.
All right, just I don't know how hardcore of a fan he is, but let's put Kane in his outfit, his uniform. Let's get the smoke blowing up behind the stage there, and let's get him walking out, right, in his outfit. Maybe the Undertaker's with him. I don't know. Let's do this thing right. Paul Bearer. God. The good days. All right, now we're rambling, guys. It's time to end this show.
We can edit that out later. It's no big deal.
We can edit it out, but I don't know if I want to. It's good content. All right, guys. Excellent show tonight. Thank you to our guest, Erik Ainge. Great guy. Had an awesome conversation. Hope to have you back on the show again. Until next time, I hope I come back next week, starting the show saying 6-0 Tennessee Vols. But for now, good night. Go Vols. And let's beat the Crimson Tide.